Hello, this is Anthony Manning, and welcome to My Journey to Kent. My traveller this time is Saeed Akkad from Syria, who undertook research with us as part of a PhD in cancer-related nano-therapeutics. Saeed joined us as a Fellow of the Council for At-Risk Academics, or CARA for short. So thanks for joining us today, Saeed, and taking us on your journey to Kent.
Pleasure.
Thank you. And so I'd like to ask you this first question, which is, where do you consider to be home?
I was born and raised in Damascus, Syria. That's what home for me is. Yeah, I've basically spent all my life there until I came here to do my PhD.
And can you tell us what led you to study at the University of Kent?
I've always wanted to take the academic route as a career, and I always wanted to do my PhD. And when I was looking for universities, actually, I was looking through an educational charity that is called the Council for At-Risk Academics, CARA for short. And they've been helping me to find a placement for me in the UK. And at one point, so they asked me to write a research proposal. And at one point in time, they told me that the University of Kent were happy to host me and do my research there based on the proposal that I wrote. So yeah, that's what, to be honest, that's when I first heard about the University of Kent. But the more I researched about it, the more I fell in love with it. I actually liked it even before I came here, just from what I've heard about it and what I've seen online and using the websites and did everything else.
Great. And can you tell us a bit more about the work that CARA does and the kind of support that they provide?
Sure. So CARA was established during the World War II, and they were helping academics find a safe place to continue their academic work and research and everything. So they've helped a lot of scientists that lived in Germany and Poland and Czechoslovakia and places like this. And it continued working after that. So whenever there's a place of conflict, basically, they always help academics. So it's anywhere from Afghanistan, Yemen, Syria, anywhere actually around the world. And it's basically what they do is they approach universities, basically universities based in the UK, and they arrange with them a place for the guest academics to conduct the research. Without their help and the help of University of Kent, actually, I don't think I would have been able to be here right now and do the research that I do and do the things that I love.
So can you tell us a bit more about the actual research that you've undertaken and what you've been hoping to use that research for?
Yeah, so what I was working on during my PhD is designing some nano-delivery systems for non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. In simple terms, it's a way of using drugs, formulating them in special formulations that you can call them smart drugs, let's say. So they would deliver the drugs that you load on them or in them. So that you could deliver it directly to cancer tissues without affecting the healthy tissues. So in this way, you can maximize the benefits of the drugs and you minimize the side effects. It was basically a relatively new area for me, but with the help of my supervisor, Dr. Christopher Sobel, I learned a lot about it during my PhD, and I can say like I'm confident around this area of research.
Wow, what an amazing achievement though, and an important form of research that will help many people in the future, I'm sure.
Hope so.
Brilliant. So you've told us a bit about your journey so far, and as we're talking about your education and your research in terms of a journey towards where you are now, I wondered if you could give us an idea of, as a traveller, what do you consider to be your essential 3 items, either really or metaphorically?
Yep. So basically, it might sound as a cliche, but I've always believed that the best friend is a book. So wherever I go, I have a good book with me. And even when I came here, I had like a full luggage full of books. Just first of all, it's a good companion anywhere. And second of all, when you have something like this from home, it's a good thing to remind you of the things you had back home, and all it has so many memories to attach to it. And yeah, it's a curiosity as well. I always believe that curiosity is a very basic tool to anyone actually, let alone a traveler or a researcher. So curiosity, I think, is the tool number one when it comes to things you should have with you all the time.
Absolutely. Great.
I think, yeah, it's just keeping an open mind as well, especially when you go someplace new with new culture, new traditions, things like this. I think having an open mind is something very, very essential. Understanding that it's people are different, and it takes time and a little bit of effort just to learn about people and about culture. And I think that's a very important tool as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when we're talking about academic culture as well as the culture
Exactly.
of different regions in the world. I agree with you
Exactly.
completely.
Yep.
So you've talked about your transition from the different things you've done in your life towards the point you're at now. In some ways, you've made it sound like a smooth ride, but have there been obstacles along the way? Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, of course. So it's I think first of all, for me coming from a war-torn country and the whole journey, I don't think many people face that. Hopefully, it hasn't been a smooth ride. But once I got here, the I think the main obstacle was again the cultural difference. No matter how much I thought I knew about the country, about its culture. From what I've read in books and from what I've seen on TV, I thought I knew a big deal, but I guess when it comes to reality, there is a cultural difference. And I think it just took me a little bit of time to adjust. But I think it does, the cultural differences do exist in a very profound way. And I think when it comes to the UK in particular, I think the main difference is that people value their privacy and the privacy of others. So from where I come, it's very easy to have a conversation with anyone. But I realize that here it might take a little bit of initiative, let's say, to talk to people. And I realize that they're always very, very eager to hear from you, but they just value your privacy and they don't want to like disturb you or just talk to you when you might not want to talk. But I think, yeah, it's just like taking a little bit of time just to adjust and know these differences and know how to approach different people in different settings. I think that's the main obstacle that I faced. But yeah, I think it's with time and a little bit of patience. I think it's a pretty easy to overcome.
Yeah, and you seem to have done that very, very successfully. So linked to those experiences you've had, what would you say is the biggest life lesson that you've learned along the way?
So I think the biggest life lesson is that whatever plans you have in mind, no matter how perfectly you have them set out, you might not necessarily achieve them. You might not necessarily have them your way. I think being open to opportunities and being open to whatever life throws your way, being open to these things, not being frustrated pretty easily, just like you say, whenever life gives you lemon, you make a lemonade. I think that's a pretty important thing. I think so many things haven't worked out my way, especially at the beginning, I guess. But along the way, I realized that I'm learning how to adapt. I think being adaptable is a very good characteristic to have. So I think it's very important to be adaptable and to being open to opportunities, whatever opportunities you have. I think that's the biggest lesson that I've learned.
Great, thank you for sharing that with us. And I suppose connected to that, what advice would you give to researchers or students following in your footsteps?
especially when it comes to research, I think failure is a big part of the learning experience. My supervisor always told me that if you're failing, you're doing it right. Don't be frustrated. It's always going to be this way. You have to fail so many times in order to be successful. So don't be frustrated. Always keep an open mind again to opportunities. Always be adaptable, and yeah, always keep a good spirit.
Thank you for that. That's great. And at this point, I wanted to ask you about your next steps and your next destination. I know in many respects, your next destination has already been arrived at.
So I've just arrived in New York, and I've just started a new academic path. Again, working in cancer research, and yeah, for the coming year, I will be here at the University of York, and I'm really excited about it. And it's yeah, it reminds me so much of Canterbury. So I feel like I haven't changed the environment so much. So it's a really good place to be in. Yeah, and really looking forward for all the research that I'm going to do here.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for taking us on your really inspirational journey. It's been really a great pleasure to talk to you, and good luck for the future. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure talking to you.